Hello on this bullshit here, and today, well, practically, it's been 30 days since I've been using Gentoo. Well, supposed to be. Actually, I switched over to OpenSUSE about 5 days ago because of an issue I ran into. I was like, screw it. Yup, I'm a coward. Well, let's get into it. So, what do I think of Gentoo? And what have I learned about Gentoo? First of all, you, you're going to need some time to use Gentoo. That means go hop on Reddit, looking up how to fix, asking people how to fix this problem you're having, or why that, why that. You'd have to, like, it's a bit more time consuming if you know what I mean. But once you get everything set up, it's no longer that time consuming at all. Like, after that, the only time consuming thing you have to deal with is probably the occasional issue where you're probably just going to have to go back to your package.use and put in a use flag or something. And I think I should actually try to make that at some point like a portage guide. Which I'm not doing a virtual machine at this point, and the other thing that causes Gentoo to be more time consuming is overall it's just compilation. It, Gentoo, even though you, even though it could be even though it could be a positive to be able to change what packages will be able to use certain things, like tell a package, no, I don't have Bluetooth, don't compile with that, or stuff like that. It comes with a cost, and that is just good old time. It's compiling too, and now instead of it just being your internet speeds as a factor, it's now your CPU and things on your computer too. Because now they're playing a role. And if you have like a really slow CPU in your computer, Gentoo is not going to be a good option. I'd say if that's the case, if you want to run a minimalist distro, there's something called Arch Linux out there. And that sort of thing, like a lot of the packages I've installed and compiled on Gentoo, as Portage on compiles it to your use flags too. I could probably get going like half or quarter time. This means updates, they're going to take the entire night on Gentoo compared to on like Arch Linux or any other distro where they're probably going to take like at most an hour, but at the very least like 10 minutes. Compared to on Gentoo where it's going to take at least an hour or the entire night. And a lot of people are probably going to find use flags a bit of a hassle. Yeah, there are shortcuts, but most people in the Gentoo community just really don't like the idea of using those shortcuts. They like to see you go into package.use or your make.conf file and just set some stuff in there. I think another issue to point out with Gentoo is just the lack of stuff in the repositories. Though I think a positive is like if you really want to install Google Chrome or something, or if you want to install Discord or Steam, those are in the repositories. So Discord, Steam are in separate. Steam is in a separate repository. Well, you'd have to install all that layout or wherever it is. Yeah, I forgot what they were called. But most tools give you layman or just e-select, I think. Also, another thing is the Gentoo installation is long, and you could probably easily mess something up, though. But not to say it's hard. It is a bit hard, but I think more on the. I think it's when you're talking about hard there. I think you're probably more referring to the idea of it's complicated and it's going to take you a while compared to Arch, which is just modifying a couple files, always a little bit, not as many as Gentoo. Doing a packstrap command, basically sudo packstrap space /mnt/ good old, and then your list of packages. Press enter and installs that Now you just need to do a couple more modifications after that. After a signature, and you can just reboot the computer then. And of course, you need a partition. It's not that different from other distros partitioning wise, so that's positive. So, yeah. Gentoo, like, those are some of the negatives in my opinion, but those negatives, if you have the time, can turn into positives. Other than the compilation time. That's going to be a negative no matter what, you know? Because that's a cost. But the thing is, use flags, if you have time, they're actually a positive. They're actually, like, you basically make packages, like, remove bloat from your system a lot better and stuff. But at the same time, they can also be a hassle, if you know what I mean. So if you don't got a lot of time, then use flags. You'll be a pain in the rear. Like, trying to get an application like Steam or even Xorg to run without tampering with use flags is going to be hell, if you know what I mean. Now, with, like, and one thing is, like, before you all start thinking, oh, where's, like, how am I going to get other packages? What if I need to install a pack and Gentoo doesn't compile right? Which is another thing you have to deal with Gentoo. Like, some packages not going to compile correctly, which means that program's not installed. Which means errors are going to be more common. But again, you can easily sort those. But again, Portage kind of, like, throws in, like, the reason at you for you to look at. But at the same time, well, if you don't know much about computers or if you don't have time, you're not going to pay attention that much. Let's be honest here. Like, yes, you can game on Gentoo. You can do anything on Gentoo. But at the same time, it's more for someone that has time. On that distro is for someone that more for someone that has time, but someone who's more tech oriented. If you know what I mean, like Gentoo's not for the everyday user. That's what, like, Gentoo is for more of a tech oriented person, and that's the big thing about Gentoo. And as well as power, and I mean control by power, how much you can control it. Gentoo's more in depth than Arch Linux. I wouldn't be surprised if you know all the commands in and out by the time you exit Gentoo after a month. Or if you got so dang used to it that you're popping open Vim or Nano every time, like to edit a file instead of gedit or Kate. So that's basically my thoughts on 30 Days of Gentoo. What I like on most of the month of me using Gentoo. There are going to be problems you're going to come up with using Gentoo more than your usual distro. And Gentoo is more of a distro that would be good. That'll be a really great distro if you have time. If you don't have much time, say hello to Arch Linux. Like, if you want a minimalist distro but don't have a lot of time, then the Arch is for you. Another thing about Gentoo is it runs on OpenRC, not systemd, though you could set it up with systemd. As if you may have heard before, there have been protest distros like Artix, which is basically Arch Linux, but without systemd, like systemd replaced. I don't know what's up to the complaint about systemd. Like, I don't know why people don't like systemd. But you're by default going to have OpenRC on Gentoo, though you can set it up with systemd. So no one needs to fork. No one needs to fork Gentoo to make Gentix or Gentoo or whatever, if you know what I mean. Like, me making up distros for my brain. So that's what I basically want to tell you all about Gentoo. Overall, the rating I'd give, I'd give it a 3 or 4 out of 5. It's a good distro. It's not a distro for the beginner. Like, let's put it in this perspective. If you're a beginner in Linux, it's a full-on 1 out of 5. You're going to need some tech wizard to install for you. You're not going to be able to install on normally, like, without having a tech wizard by you, or a really good YouTube tutorial. Plus, the installation for many is usually over an hour long of manual work. So, again, another reason why I say time is a pretty dang good variable to have if you want to use Gentoo. And even that, and like another thing with beginners, like they don't have quite a while. They're probably gonna be like, they probably don't have the time to deal with packages like the amount of errors you'll get when merging packages on Gentoo compared to Ubuntu or even Arch, because of use flags and stuff. So what about other ones? Like what about if you're not new to Linux, if you're good at Linux but you don't have a lot of time, like let's say you have a job or work or something, you don't have time to fiddle with Gentoo. It could it'd probably be a 3 out of 5 or 2 or 3 out of 5, because it's like if you had enough time you could probably get around to using it, but you're probably on Arch or something instead, and you're probably going to prefer Arch more if you're going for a minimal distro. If you're good at Linux, if you've been using Linux for a while, if you've been using the command line a bit, Gentoo is a solid 4 out of 5, or at most maybe a 4.5 out of 5. Stability can be a problem. Errors are going to happen, and it's time consuming. But if you got the time, it's a good distro. Just don't expect to be the most stable thing in the world. And don't expect just to be able to use it don't expect yourself to be able to install perfectly and have it going pretty well immediately after installation. As you're going to need to do a lot more setup after that compared to something like Arch. Arch, you don't even need to do much setup anyways. So yeah, this is Bill Shad here. Hope to see y'all next time. See ya. If y'all like this type of content, make sure to drop a like. If you wanted to see more of this content, make sure to subscribe. If you don't like this content, or specifically this video, drop a dislike. And it'd be heavily appreciated if you were to also drop a comment explaining why you disliked the video and some issues, also known as constructive feedback. I'll see y'all next time. See ya.